no matter how high or how low, I'm always trusting him. So at the end of the day, no matter how I'm feeling, I always try to revert to that. So appreciate you guys.
You feel like he gives you the best chance to win?
Yeah. Wasn't sure if I was going to get another opportunity to start again, and so I'm really looking forward to it.
I didn't think I'd have an update video for you guys this quickly. Our last Bryce Young video was literally made 5 days ago, and in that video I even said, maybe this is an overreaction after all. It's only week 1 of the NFL season, but it seemed like things went from bad to worse for Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers, and now it seems like the Panthers have officially given up on the 2023 #1 overall pick. So before we get to the content, we're on the grind to 1 million subscribers. Make sure you subscribe and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! This man used the Caleb Williams free square to turn $20 into $135, but this maniac was able to turn $30 to $1,020. And the good news is PrizePicks is running 2 more weeks of the Caleb Williams free square, and I have some ideas to make us some free money. If you haven't signed up for PrizePicks and you're really good at guessing how well players will perform in games, I highly recommend it. And right now they're hooking up my subscribers fat. When you use my promo code Mikerophone, get a free $50 when you play an entry of $5 or more. I'll leave a link to it in the description down below, and I give away all of my picks for free on my Instagram. For Monday Night Football, I'm running with Devontae Smith, Bijan Robinson, and Saquon Barkley. I feel like since AJ Brown is out, Devontae Smith and Saquon Barkley should eat tonight. I'll have additional picks in my Instagram story at The Flight Mike, and thank you PrizePicks for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? It's very difficult to really know who is to blame at this point. Is Bryce Young really that terrible, or is it the Carolina Panthers that clearly don't know what they're doing? Mind you, 2 years ago, the Carolina Panthers had Baker Mayfield, Sam Darnold, Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, and Brian Burns. They had the opportunity to trade Brian Burns for 2 first-round picks and a second-round pick, but they decided to hold on to him for an additional 14 months and then traded him for a second-round pick to the Giants. They traded Christian McCaffrey for a bunch of second-round picks 2 years ago as well. They traded DJ Moore in the Bryce Young trade. They let Baker Mayfield and Sam Darnold walk for free, and both of those quarterbacks have thrown for 46 touchdowns and 14 interceptions since leaving Carolina. So at this point, are we blaming the players that are playing for the Panthers, or does the talent in Carolina stink? Well, given the track record, you can make a very compelling argument that Carolina is just a poorly run franchise. But at the same time, it's important to note that Carolina recently overhauled its front office. A brand new general manager came in. The general manager that wouldn't trade Brian Burns and traded for Bryce Young is officially gone. A new head coach is in town, and this is a head coach that really took a huge risk coming here. Dave Canal is an individual which was very much a huge driving force in reviving Geno Smith's career, which if you go back to 2022, nobody thought Geno Smith would ever be relevant ever again. And he did it again in 2023 with Baker Mayfield on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So Dave Canales was brought in to completely change things for Bryce Young. But unfortunately, things haven't been going so smooth for Bryce Young during the first 2 weeks of the NFL season, which is really frustrating, man, because I do tip my hat off to Dan Morgan, the general manager of the Carolina Panthers, because he did everything right this past offseason. I said in my last video, the Panthers didn't have the splashiest offseason, but you have to understand what this general manager inherited. Remember, the Carolina Panthers, before the 2023 NFL draft, traded DJ Moore, 9th overall pick in that draft, the 61st overall pick in that draft, the #1 overall pick in 2024, and a second-round pick in 2025 to the Bears in order to get the #1 overall pick, take Bryce Young. And the craziest part is, in the pre-draft process, the Panthers didn't really know if they wanted Bryce Young or CJ Stroud, because remember, Josh McCown said this to CJ Stroud.
Well, no, I got to do a little Charlotte.
But at the same time, the Panthers ended up taking Bryce Young. But Frank Reich even implied that he wanted CJ Stroud.
There's different philosophies in ownership. You know what I mean? Some owners kind of stay away and don't engage a whole lot. Other owners do. And his philosophy is he's going to engage. And listen, it's only been a short experience, but it's been a really good experience. It hasn't been fun. You know, it's not fun. Those meetings aren't, I wouldn't characterize them as fun meetings. But those meetings make me better, and I trust they make us better.
And David Tepper even kind of hinted that the Panthers originally wanted CJ Stroud, but they were content with either QB, and Bryce Young happened to be their top guy.
Originally, we were going to go to the number 2 pick, and we thought we would get CJ because we thought the Texans were going to pick Bryce. And listen, we preferred Bryce. He was our number 1 pick. We had a lot of conviction. I supported the coaches, I supported the scouts, and I supported Frank Reich. So as far as Bryce Young is concerned, we are totally confident in that pick.
Regardless, I still had the take that no one would be able to help Bryce Young in year 1 of his NFL career. The offensive line was one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. His best receiver was a past his prime Adam Thielen. He had 2 different head coaches throughout his first year, and an owner that clearly lacked the patience to improve the team and see through a full-scale rebuild. So this past offseason was a very crucial offseason for the Carolina Panthers. And to Dan Morgan's credit, he did everything he was supposed to do. Bear in mind, this is a team that was so bad last year that they should have had the number 1 overall pick in the NFL draft. Very similarly to what Trevor Lawrence went through in his rookie season. So you can only imagine how terrifying this is for any organization. The number 1 asset that is supposed to improve your team the most is gone because you traded it for a player that wasn't able to make enough of an impact on your roster in order to make them better than the worst team in the NFL. The only thing he was really able to fix throughout the offseason was the offensive line. So Dan Morgan signed Robert Hunt to a 5-year, $100 million deal, then Damian Lewis to a 4-year, $53 million deal. He also traded for Deontay Johnson and traded Brian Burns so he could get some assets. It wouldn't matter if the Panthers had to tank this year because at the end of the day, at the very least, they still have their 1st-round pick this year, even though they don't have their 2nd-round pick this year. And it was going to be an uphill battle for the Panthers to become relevant again. So week 1 started and Panthers fans were very hopeful as they faced off against their division rival, the New Orleans Saints. But Bryce Young was terrible against the New Orleans Saints. He went viral for all of the wrong reasons. On the very first play of the NFL season, he threw an interception. And some of these interceptions were completely on him. In years past, I would say his receivers aren't separating enough, which is true currently. But there are moments that they're getting open and he's either missing them, overthrowing them, or not reading the defense properly. And in the past, I'd say that's the offensive line's fault. But in week 1, the offensive line was incredible versus the New Orleans Saints. One of the best offensive lines in the NFL, might I add. So although week 1 got off to a bad start, the Panthers were hoping that in week 2, Bryce Young would be able to get it together. But unfortunately, things would go from bad to worse. Bryce Young had another double-digit outing versus the Los Angeles Chargers. Bryce Young completed 18 of 26 of his passes for 84 yards, no touchdowns, and an interception. And he went viral for all the wrong reasons. I mean, look at some of the plays from this particular game. This is a screen pass to Adam Thielen. It should be very simple to complete this pass. It's literally free yardage. This is a 1st down if he is able to do his job as a former number 1 overall pick. And Bryce Young completely misses Adam Thielen. I mean, it's insane. And then there's this play as well. Bryce Young is scrambling to the left for no particular reason at all. He's trying to improvise and then he gets bulldozed by the defense. But the one play that was really frustrating for me that really made me give up on Bryce Young altogether is on this 3rd and 7. Bryce Young drops back. He was literally looking down the field and then scrambled to the left. But if you take a look here, Adam Thielen was wide open for a huge chunk play. This could have potentially been a touchdown. Look at how frustrated he is here. And I would be too. If I'm getting open at that age and I have an opportunity to put up points on the board, I'd be pissed off. And like people were memeing him. I mean, Bryce Young literally looked like he wanted to cry out here. And in the past, I'd say it's the Panthers' fault. But in this particular instance, it's 100% Bryce Young's fault. I mean, this is probably the craziest play of all. Bryce Young literally stares into double coverage and then tries to force the ball in here anyway. And following the game, he gave this really depressing interview.
How hard is it to see that light at the end of the tunnel through a rough start?
It's fresh right now. Obviously, just finished the game I don't know how long ago. So, it's fresh and it's tough right now. But again, I draw my confidence from God. I have faith in Him, and whether no matter how high or how low, I always trust in Him. So at the end of the day, no matter how I'm feeling, I always try to revert to that. So appreciate you guys.
But he still got a vote of confidence from his head coach, Dave Canales.
I start quarterback. We're going to just continue to shore up and fix the things we need to fundamentally from a scheme standpoint. All those things, these are all valuable reps. These are all valuable games. We'll learn a lot in this game, and hopefully they'll take another step this week.
Which turned out to be a huge lie, by the way, because very shortly after this, we got breaking news from Adam Schefter. According to Adam Schefter, the Panthers are benching former #1 overall pick Bryce Young. Andy Dalton is Carolina's new QB1. This is craziness to me. I mean, I have no idea how Andy Dalton is consistently getting himself starting opportunities here. And the scary part about this is you don't really know what the strategy is here. And I'll tell you what I mean in just a sec. Apparently, this decision came from Dave Canales, General Manager Dan Morgan, and Executive Vice President Brant Tillis. As one source said, this is Dave Canales' first big boy decision. Now, Canales gave a press conference on Monday where he primarily said this was his decision.
I want to keep that private. What I would like to say, though, is this is something after I watched the film, I looked at it, had a thought, started working on talking to the guys that we make decisions with. Certainly a lot of parties involved there, and ultimately this comes on me, and my #1 responsibility is to help the Panthers win, and so this move, I believe, puts us in the best chance to do that this week.
But I have a lot of trouble imagining any head coach can do anything without Dave Tepper's approval. This is an owner that historically has micromanaged the living out of his team. The craziest part is Deontay Johnson still believes that Bryce Young gives the Panthers the best chance to win.
He's our quarterback, he's my guy. At the end of the day, shot clicked as soon as I came in. So I go, just because we had lost 2 games, but it don't mean I'm going to switch up on him or whatever. So, like I said, I got his back regardless. You feel like he gives you the best chance to win? Yeah, no doubt. No question.
Whereas Andy Dalton is obviously very excited about this opportunity.
Wasn't sure if I was going to get another opportunity to start again, and so I'm really looking forward to it. I'm excited about what's ahead, and it's a tough situation. I've been on both sides of it, and it's not hard. I mean, it's hard on everybody. So, but for me, I'm looking forward to it.
And I don't really know how to interpret this, because in the very beginning, I looked at this as, hey, maybe they're benching Bryce Young so he could sit down, learn behind Andy Dalton a little bit, and try to develop a little further. And maybe sitting Bryce Young behind Andy Dalton is what he needs in order to develop into a good QB. And to be honest, if that is the plan, which I feel like is what they're going to try to do at first, then it's not really a bad plan. I mean, again, he has wide receivers that are struggling to separate, and he's literally seeing ghosts out there. I know people are going to be making jokes saying that he's too short to see behind the offensive line, but we've seen plenty of short QBs succeed in the NFL before. I mean, we're talking about a quarterback that's the same height as Kyler Murray, and Kyler Murray absolutely cooked yesterday. So I don't think that's an acceptable excuse. He was drafted #1 overall for a reason. But at the same time, a lot of fans are saying this is the end of Bryce Young's career completely. This is the Panthers moving on from him. It's a new general manager. It's a new head coach. They're giving up on Bryce Young. They've seen enough. And even if that was the case, I still think Bryce Young's going to get another opportunity. I mean, his numbers are very pitiful up until this point of his career. We're talking about a guy that's gone 2-16 throughout his career, thrown for 11 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, and completed 59% of his passes. If the Panthers wanted to trade him, I don't think you're going to get anything close to the amount that you gave up in order to acquire him, which would be insane if they did want to trade him. I either think this is going to be a scenario that plays out very similarly to what the Jets wanted for Zach Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. Maybe the Panthers are going to give Bryce Young the Jordan Love treatment, or maybe this is going to be like when Mike Vrabel originally took over as the head coach of the Tennessee Titans. If you remember, in year 1 of Mike Vrabel as the head coach of the Titans, he benched Marcus Mariota, who was supposed to be the franchise QB of the Titans, a team that literally refused to trade Mariota to the Eagles on draft day day for multiple future first-round picks that would have set this team up to be a dynasty, Mariota got benched for Ryan Tannehill, and the Titans saw a brief window of success. So maybe Andy Dalton is the Ryan Tannehill in this particular instance, and Bryce Young is Marcus Mariota. Either way, I could understand why Dave Canales made this move. If he has no faith in Bryce Young making simple reads and simple plays, and this is his opportunity as a head coach, and he's working for a owner that is notorious for having no patience at all whatsoever in his franchise, I don't blame him for benching Bryce Young. But at the end of the day, if I'm Bryce Young, I wouldn't really be nervous for the future of my career, because at the end of the day, the last two quarterbacks for the Carolina Panthers are currently experiencing a ton of success for their new teams. So let me know in the comment section down below if you're a Panthers fan. I know this must be the feeling on earth, because you gave up DJ Moore, a 9th overall pick, the 61st overall pick, the number 1 overall pick, and a 2nd round pick next year to get a player that has now been benched for Andy Dalton. Let me know if you guys see a light at the end of the tunnel. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.